Hi, good afternoon, this is Medium Joe. Before we continue with this video, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube page. Also check out my page on Facebook, which is Medium Joe. I also have an Instagram account, which is @MediumJoe1. I wanted to post a video today to build on my last video, which was about meditation, and talk about the different ways that spirit communicate with you. Now, there's lots of different ways that spirit might be able to communicate with you. In later videos, we will talk about trance mediumship and explain in a little bit more detail about that, and also about physical mediumship and essentially what that is as well. If you are interested in those two topics, they are discussed in my book, which is Critical Mediumship, which is available on Amazon now. But today we're going to talk about mental mediumship. Now, what is mental mediumship? Quite often you'll see psychics and mediums advertise themselves as clairvoyants. So what does clairvoyance mean? Well, essentially, with mental mediumship, which is the most common type of mediumship that is around, and when you go see a medium or a psychic, they'll be drawing on 3 different types of mental mediumship. One of them is clairvoyance, which is the ability to see spirit. So you might walk into a room and see a spirit stood there, or you might be talking to someone and you might see a spirit stood around that person. So that's what clairvoyance is. But there are 2 other ways that spirit can communicate with you as well. And arguably, I believe that these 2 are far more important than clairvoyance. And those are clairsentient and clairaudient. Now, clairaudience is where you might be able to hear spirit. Now, there's a little bit of a misconception around this. Some people are able to hear spirits talking to them in the voice. But quite often, when it's clairvoyant, it's your thoughts that you can hear. And going back to my last video about meditation, that's why meditation is so important when communicating with spirit. Because when they're talking to you in a clairaudient fashion, you need to be able to decipher what is your own thoughts and what is the thoughts of that spirit person that's talking to you. The same goes with clairsentience. Now, clairsentience is the main type of mediumship I use, which is the ability to sense spirit around people and also sense sensations from them, and you're able to interpret that and then deliver that into a message. Now, building into that, when I work with spirit, a few years ago I was watching John Edwards' work. Now, John Edwards is an American psychic medium who's absolutely amazing. He's well worth checking out. He had a program that's probably about 10 years now, 10 years old, called Crossing Over with John Edwards. And I was watching one of those episodes, and when he was explaining about what he did, he said, I might explain someone that's to your side, someone that's behind you, and then able to draw on that information and work out who's who. And I thought, you know what, that's a really good idea. So when I work with people now, if I have a sister sat in front of me, I put a thought out in my mind, and I might clairsentiently, so I might sense a spirit, or I might see a spirit person stood around someone in a certain position, and I'm able to interpret from that who that person might be. So if I've got spirit stood behind someone just around their shoulders, I know that's either mum or dad. And if that spirit's a little bit further out, I know that that's an auntie or uncle. But I'm able to sense or see that it's a male or a female. Also as well, if I've got a spirit person that's stood to the side of someone, I know whether that's husband, wife, brother, sister, cousin or friend. Again, depending on how close they are to that person. So in that way, I'm using either clairvoyance to see that spirit or clairsentience to feel where that spirit person might be around that person, and also whether they're male or female. Within that, when I've been able to establish that link from that, I send a thought out in my mind, so I start asking questions. So that spirit person might start showing me something. They might show me that they had a letter that was put with them when they was in their coffin, or they might show me flowers being laid down on the floor, which tells me that there's an anniversary coming up. So the language of spirit is quite often symbols and feelings, okay? So when I sense spirit, and I might put a thought out to him and I say, okay, I've got you here, your father, how did you pass? He might give me a sensation in my chest or in my heart, or he might give me a feeling in my face or tap on my head, and that lets me know different ways that they might have passed. So quite often when someone comes through that's been in an accident, I will feel almost a sensation of an impact, and you'll see when I'm reading for people that I'll be chatting to that person in my head and I'll do that. And for me, that's my way of recognising that that person passed in some form of accident, whether that be a car accident or a motorcycle accident, or if someone fell, quite often I get the sensation that I'm falling to the floor. Now that's working clairsentiently, okay? Also as well, they put images into my mind. So they might write a date in my head, or alternatively, they might show me something which I know is symbolic and significant for them. So those are the two main ways that I work with spirit. On top of that, I work clairsentiently as well. So sometimes I might hear thoughts in my head which are their thoughts, and I'm able to listen to them and interpret them. Alternatively, they might show me a date in my head. So clairvoyantly or clairsentiently, I'm able to pick up on that date and give that as accurate information. This can be really, really difficult to interpret and understand. Working with spirit is a language of thought and feeling and symbols, and you have to take time to understand those different symbols and meanings to what spirit are giving you, and that can be really difficult. So I put a post on my Facebook page a little while ago trying to explain what it's like being a medium, and a metaphor for it is almost like they write on a script what their life is, they rip it up and then they throw it up in the air. And your job as a medium is to catch those pieces of information, try and put them together and try and interpret them. And that's why sometimes the messages can be a little bit mixed up or a little bit confused, because you're trying to interpret what someone else is giving you. So it can be really, really difficult to understand. Going on from that, I also wanted to talk about natural mediums. So one of the things that I never really had growing up is I never had experiences of working with spirit. I can probably think of one time in my childhood where I might have seen a spirit, and I genuinely do not know to this day whether that was my overactive imagination or if that genuinely was spirit. I was recently chatting to a lady who appears to be a natural medium, so has had experiences through her life but dismissed them. But as we've been speaking, and as she's been learning a little bit more about what I do and what mediums do, she's starting thinking back and thinking, actually, okay, maybe I have been having these experiences of spirit personalities around me. One of the things which happened to her recently was she was driving down the road late at night, and she was thinking to herself, is this really real? You know, are these things I'm seeing or experiencing, is it all in my mind, or is it just, you know, is it actually spirit? Then all of a sudden she saw a figure stood at the road, so that she was going down a dark country road late at night and saw a figure stood there, and it really, really freaked her out, to the point where she thought she might have hit him, and she got home and she had to check her car, and it really freaked her out. Now luckily she was able to speak to someone, myself, and I was able to offer some advice and guidance around that. She went back the next day, and the spot where she saw the spirit personality, there was actually flowers laid there, which would suggest that there'd been someone that had passed there recently. But that got me thinking, you know, I've been really, really fortunate in the last 13 years to be surrounded by people that have knowledge of mediumship, have knowledge of the unseen world, and being able to guide me. So when I've had experiences which have freaked me out, whether that be I've heard someone run up some stairs and there be absolutely no one there, or I've seen things move around my house, I've been able to go to someone and be able to get reassurance and get an explanation for that and to be able to process it. But there must be so many natural mediums out there that don't have access to someone that can help them understand what's going on around them. This then led me to, because there seems to be this massive misconception. Now, I'll argue this point with anyone. I don't believe in bad spirit. I don't believe in demons or anything of the sort. But these people that have these natural experiences who can't explain them or can't understand what's going on around them, it must really frighten them. And you can understand why things that are spiritual in nature then get perceived in a negative way, and this idea of demons and bad ghosts and all these different things come about. Now, I do believe that psychics and mediums can go into buildings where bad things have happened and pick up on those sensations, but don't believe that negative spirits and things like that can hang around, you know, and spend the eternity waiting to frighten people. You know, it just doesn't make sense in my head, and I don't think spirit would allow that to happen. Working with spirit is about working in love and light, and it's about bringing healing, guidance and evidence of life after death to people. So the reason I mention this is because I went to go see a psychic probably about 6, 7, 8 years ago, and in the intermission a lady came to him and said, oh look, I keep having these experiences where I wake up in the night, I can't move, and I feel like someone's in the room watching me. I was just about to jump in with an explanation when he said, oh, that's a demon, and potted off. and this lady was just left in absolute shock. So she'd had very limited experience of spiritual experiences and a limited understanding of mediumship, and there was just a look of sheer horror on her face. Luckily, I was able to step in and explain to her about sleep paralysis, which is something that sometimes happens when you're coming back into awakened consciousness, and as you're sort of adjusting to that, you might get sensations that someone's in the room, you might feel like you're not able to move your arms and body, but that's not spirit. That's a natural thing that happens. For anyone that's had sleep paralysis, it's a really terrifying experience. I've had it once. I had it once last year, but because I was aware of it, I was able to look at it objectively and observe it and not be too frightened of it. So this is really the point of me mentioning this, is that it's really important that we get a message out there to people about the different ways spirit communicate with you and some of the experiences, and try and demystify it and try and help people understand that actually it's not frightening, it's just something that's natural that you need to learn to understand. So if anyone has had any experiences that they're frightened of, or they've got any questions, feel free to get in contact with me. I'm happy to have a general conversation with you and maybe advise you on it. One of the things I will say is that this is just my understanding. I'm not saying I'm 100% right, nor am I saying I'm 100% right about how you should communicate with spirit, but this is how it works for me, okay? One of the things I also wanted to reassure people of was that, it is genuinely working about love and light. If you're going to see mediums or psychics and they're saying to you, you've got negative things around you, you've got negative spirits in the house, I'd question the reason they're doing that and why they would tell you that. I have not been, in all the places I've been to and all the things I've done, I've not once come across a negative spirit, and I really don't believe in it. And I find it sad that some mediums and psychics purport for these bad things to be out there. Mediumship should be something which is evidence-based, which is scientifically based. And if they can't back up and prove those claims of these negative things that are happening, then essentially I'm going to disregard them. I sometimes think that mediums or supposed mediums and psychics say these things to either boost their ego or to get attention and trying to make themselves look good. But a medium and psychic is as good as the message that they give to someone, which should be accurate, which should be evidential, and which should prove survival after death, but ultimately bring healing and help someone with grief and grieving through that process of losing someone. Going on from that, let's talk a little bit about poltergeist. So, poltergeist, sadly, have this image in people's mind because of films such as a film like Poltergeist and some of these horror movies, it being these evil, negative entities. Now, that's not what poltergeists are. Essentially, there's two types of poltergeists. There's the ones that is a spirit personality that is doing mischievous things, that might be throwing things, or might be trying to get your attention, or might be hiding things. And quite often these cases are spontaneous and happen without warning, and very quickly sort of end as well without any explanation. There's also this other idea around poltergeist, which comes from the emotional state of the person. So quite often you'll find that children that are going through growth and having hormone changes will start to experience poltergeist type phenomena that's happening around them. That seems to be a basis of that phenomena. It seems to come from that person's emotional state. So whether they're heightened or they're going through a stressful experience, it seems to be an extension of some form of psychokinetic energy that seems to occur. Now this might sound garble and absolute nonsense to you, but the Society for Psychical Research, also the Scottish Society for Psychical Research and the American Society for Psychical Research have done a lot of investigation and research into this. And there does seem to be these two types of poltergeist cases that occur. Again, I tell you this because it's about understanding why phenomena might be happening around people and understanding what it is. Now, if you're having things moving around your house or you're hearing knocking and banging, rightly so, it's going to be frightening. You're not going to know what it is. But it's about trying to look at it rationally and objectively and looking at it in an evidence-based way. I'd be really interested to speak to people that either have had poltergeist experiences or equally that have ongoing poltergeist experiences that want some help and advice around them. I'd be really interested to chat to them and see if I can help. So that's my video for today. I hope that's given you a little bit more clarity. Please leave comments, please share. If anyone's got any questions, please get in contact with me either via my YouTube account or via my mediumship page. And, you know, let's demystify this whole thing around mediumship and psychic ability. I'm signing off. I'll post another video soon. I intend to do some street readings when I get opportunity. That's probably going to be in the next couple of weeks, and I'll be doing that in Hull. So I'll post that as soon as I can. Have a fabulous day. Check out my page. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.